The single tradition most conspicuously distinguishing Boys Republic has been its student self-government. When the problem youth were entrusted with responsibility, not only in areas of work, but also for their own self-discipline, they would build character.
The street came before I arrived. Coming into the gates at Boys Republic, it's not exactly what I expected. I basically thought I was here to do some time and quickly realized that that's not something that's acceptable at Boys Republic. I learned that doing time was one of the major rule violations, and that I was here for what was supposedly a treatment program, and I didn't understand exactly what kind of treatment I was here for.
The power in the group model is essentially that you force the boys to sit down, face each other on a daily basis, and see each other as individuals.
And this was real odd to me. I heard other students that were my age and in Boys Republic for the exact same reasons I would, and they were talking about their problems, and it wasn't so much the facilitator, the staff that was giving them answers to the questions or trying to solve their problems, but it was the students speaking to each other.
And in sitting in a circle with each other, being required to work towards each other's betterment, they begin to notice how many things they have in common.
And it was helpful because as we explored issues a little bit deeper, we started to come up with our own conclusions in some of these issues and realize that we all are dealing with the same thing.
Anytime you sit down and you start to get students used to holding them accountable for their behavior and being able to reflect what they do and being able to honestly talk about with the rest of their peers about just receiving information, it becomes a lot more helpful than adults kind of telling them what to do and how to do it.
We understand that you've grown up. It's been difficult for you, but you still have choices that you can make. You can make it better, and you can change all that. You can stop the cycle of whatever's been going on generationally in your family, and change that so that your future generations will have a whole different experience in life and be successful.
And for us, we don't want rules. You have to have a few rules, like no fighting, but you want as few rules as possible. Because rules say it's either it's yes or no. You either pass or you fail. But if you have standards, then you have incremental movement and progress, and you can recognize that progress.
For the last century, Boys Republic has provided programs and education for one of society's least served, yet most socially significant populations, troubled teenagers. The youth agency's programs steadily evolved during that time to meet the ever-changing social conditions. What is remarkable is that the agency's own underlying treatment philosophy, that of building positive character through assimilating youth into positive reference groups of their own peers,
We're going to now call up Larry Walker to make his presentation for Supervisor Muriel.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you for the chance to be here today. I haven't done one of these for quite a while, but I asked Supervisor Ovett if I might have the privilege. He was not able to be here, and Maxie sends his regrets, but I was trying to think as I was sitting there when I first met Max, and it was a long time ago, and I didn't realize what a young, inexperienced director he was at the time. He already had things well in hand, and the operation was running well. I just came from the retirement board, and I had to be there today, Max, because I think you may be aware they made me managing trustee for the short term, so I can't sit on the back row over there anymore. But Max has invited me dozens of times out here over the years, and I don't think that's a special thing. I think Max has done an incredible job of making contact with the community, of supervising staff. Not really, supervising sounds like too vertical a word. Really being a part of staff and guiding and keeping staff together. He's had a tremendous impact on hundreds of young people who have been here and in the other institutions that are part of Boys Republic. And I wouldn't know where to start to say thank you or to compliment you, because Max, I just got to tell you, sometimes I just read those 1 or 2 page things. Some of them you wrote last week and some of them you wrote 10 years ago. And the insight and the knowledge and the sensitivity to how people behave and how people's behavior can be affected by what we do and by how we deal with people is just incredible. It's not just Max Scott, it's this institution. I was reminded this morning in a retirement discussion that the rule number 1 in human resources that I've learned is everybody leaves. And we move on and we move forward. And if I may, Max, I was talking to my staff a few weeks ago, and I said, you know, I'm a believer in continuous improvement. That's one of the management terms of the day. But I do try every day to try to make this organization better each day than it was the day before. And I paused and I said, you know, I guess that means that the day after I leave here sometime in the future when I retire, it'll be better than it ever was when I was here. And I told my staff, you know, that's okay with me. And I think for Boys Republic, that's okay with Max. We're going to keep on making this institution better and better, and we're going to be building on an incredible, not just foundation, because you've been here for a lot of production too, but Max, on behalf of the community, I'll volunteer to take that role. I cannot thank you enough, we cannot thank you enough for the impact you've had on many people who weren't from this community, but you've still had a positive impact on this community as well. And the community partnership that exists, and the work that is done here, and the work that will continue to be done here, partly because of your leadership while you were here, cannot be overstated in terms of its importance or in terms of its success. So on behalf of the County of San Bernardino, on behalf of Supervisor Ovitz, it's an honor as well as a pleasure to present this resolution commending you for your decades of service and thanking you for what you've meant to this community. Congratulations.
Well, as you can see on the clock, we're ahead of schedule, so I'm on track here. We have 4 people that are going to say something about Max, and hopefully embarrass him a little bit. You know, it's always fun to have a little excitement and enjoyment. But the first one, I've got to caution that there is a time limit, Kevin, so you're up first. Those that don't know Kevin, that's a little inside joke, but if you do, you'll know why. Kevin Sullivan is going to come up first, and then Frank Bouchier, alumni, is going to be next.
To some of my long-time friends, please do not be nervous, because my comments will only take about 3 minutes. It has been a privilege to know Max Scott for most of his time at Boys Republic. As you know, America is a very mobile country, with many people changing jobs and moving every few years because often they haven't reached the state of being satisfied and happy in their work. Well, Max Scott's record of having the top positions at Boys Republic for most of his 45 years there is truly an extraordinary accomplishment, working with so many boys from troubled backgrounds, plus all of the administrative work. Obviously, Max and his family reached a very high level of satisfaction and contentment. Now, I really got to know Max personally through tennis. On weeknights, we used to play tennis with our friend Dan McCullough at his private court in Chino. Dan is here today and came up from Fulton. Max was a really top-notch tennis player, and I should know because I often played with some of the world's best. Max had an excellent serve and volley game, which is probably the most difficult to succeed at in tennis. It is the quickest way to win a point. Today, most of the top players rarely serve and volley, but prefer to play from the baseline. A Damon Runyon-type friend of mine once told me that if I wanted to win at tennis, call all of my opponents' close shots out. Well, Max had a much higher standard of ethics, and he always called all the close shots in. In conclusion, I have a little story with a happy ending. In 1999-2000, Wilson Sporting Goods, who made the Jack Kramer autographed tennis racket, which is the highest selling racket in history, decided to make a limited edition of a very special Jack Kramer Millennium racket. Jack Kramer gave me one that is number 17. In our Chino Rotary Club, I told a friend who was on the Rotary Foundation International Board about the racket. He asked me if I could get Jack to give him one for a big dinner auction in Phoenix to raise funds for Rotary's Polio Plus fundraising campaign. Well, Jack gave me two, and I gave one to my friend, and at the Phoenix dinner auction, it was auctioned off for $5,000. I decided to give the other one to our Chino Rotary Club for their annual dinner auction, where we usually raise approximately $50,000, which is all given away to good causes. I had heard of a wealthy sports memorabilia collector in Newport Beach, so I telephoned him, and he was very interested in bidding on the tennis racket, and he came up for our dinner. I talked to other friends in the club, and they expressed interest in bidding on the racket. So the big night came, and I told my dear friend Dick Meyer that we should also bid on the racket to create interest, and it was most unlikely we would have to buy it. Well, the bidding started, and I bid $300, and immediately Dick jumped up and bid $600, and the auctioneer said, sold for $600. I was totally shocked and disappointed. I thought it would have gone for thousands. Unfortunately, I had made two big mistakes. First of all, I had not properly schooled Dick Meyer about auctions. You usually only raise a bid in proportion to the previous bid, not 100%. Also, I had not told the auctioneer, who obviously knew nothing about tennis and the very high value of the tennis racket. Now, the happy ending to this story is that Dick Meyer, who was principal for 16 years at Boys Republic and greatly respected Max Scott, decided that Max was a far better tennis player than he was, and he gave the racket to Max. Later, at a luncheon here at the club, Jack Kramer personally autographed the racket for Max. Well, Max, I'm honored to be able to call you my friend. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Boucher, and I was a former student of Boys Republic, and I gave Max my card before I came in. It was 1972 when I graduated. All I can say about Max Scott is I followed your rules, Max. I got some training in metal smithing, or in metal shop, and by following Max Scott's rules, I can honestly say I've gone places that is even shocking to me. And I don't only thank you, Max, my son thanks you, and my son's sons thank you. Because I know because of you, my life took a whole different turn. And with the help of the staff of Boys Republic, my metal shop teacher, and what I mostly want to thank Max Scott for is he's seen something that nobody else seen, I felt. When I was here at Boys Republic, and you had nowhere to go when you left, he built a place for them. So I have to really thank you for that, Max, for obvious reasons. After seeing that film, I understand a little bit more of me, the way I work with my customers today. I have a code of conduct with them. Out of 100% of people who come to me, we take less than 3% of our customers because we expect something out of them. And I do govern ourselves, and we have no supervision, which I realize probably comes from you. And a lot of the people we worked for thought I was quite different. And when I hear people say there's no jobs out there, I think what I would say to them, if you do your job so well, people will come forth and give you other jobs and other challenges, which they've given me and my son beyond my belief. So I would like to give you a small token of something me and my son would like to give you. And my son would come up and help me unwrap this for Max. Oh, sorry, Max. Just sit back down. I don't mean to be rude or anything. This was first shown in North Carolina at the Grove Park Inn. It was the top of arts and crafts to be seen. And I believe Max seen it at the Huntington Library, where he came to see me once. And we'll give you documentation. Hopefully we'll have some pictures of that will help on the history of it. So I want to thank you for your group therapy, to be able to talk to other people, which has helped me stand forth and talk to some of my customers who are rather hard, since they're some of the most powerful people probably in the United States, or maybe at least in the United States. So this is what we have for you, Max. And we give you a backplate for it. It's a little piece of art of me and my sons.
We now also have two other alumni, Michelle Martinez and Jason Moore. They're just going to make a presentation.
Since entering Boys Republic in 1996 as a student and as staff now for nearly 12 years, I have been continuously amazed at how much one person can give of themselves to others. That is what Max has did day in and day out. Early mornings and very late hours in the evenings for years, with nothing but care and concern for the girls and guys who have become part of this, our Boys Republic family. Max, I will personally be forever grateful for you, for Boys Republic, and what it's taught me to become what I've become today. And the opportunity to be here and be part of giving back what Boys Republic, what your leadership gave to so many of us who once needed guidance and a second chance. As I go on continuing to help the guys and girls who will enter the program, I will always remember what I learned from a great leader and role model who will be very much missed. I want to thank you, Max, for all your years of dedication to Boys Republic on behalf of all my peers before, current, and after, for your continued support to Boys Republic.
I don't know how you could have done that, Michelle. I'm already getting choked up just from walking up here, so I guess I'm going to look like the wimp. Thanks to Frank and Michelle. I had an overwhelming sense of, I felt like I had an overwhelming sense of responsibility. I thought I'd be the only one here as a former student. I thought, there's no way that I can thank you for everybody and all the thousands of lives that you've touched. I felt the best way for me to do that is just kind of share how you've been a part of my life. And you can take my story and probably multiply that by thousands. And so first of all, I'd just like to thank everybody for being here, or for allowing me today to recognize someone who's been very important to me. I have a very unique relationship with Max. He's played many roles in my life. I was a student at Boys Republic from 1998 through 1999. I came in basically as a street kid, lived on my own since I was 13. came in with nothing but the shirt on my back, which I couldn't even necessarily claim ownership of. It said property of County Juvenile Hall or something like that. I eventually adapted to the program here at Bush Republic and was elected mayor by my peers and staff. In this role, I began to know Max. Max is a great example and showed me what it was to be a leader. Max actually taught me that if one, you treated people fairly, two, you have a genuine concern for others, and three, remain honest, that served my student body well. I've brought that into pretty much everything I've done. I'll continue to bring that into everything I do in my own family. I thank you for teaching me that. After graduating high school at Bush Republic, I made the decision to attend college. With no family support, I knew it would be a challenge. Shortly after making that decision, Max invited me into his office and wanted to discuss the decision I made to further my education. I told him that I was scared. He told me that I had nothing to worry about. And basically just do my best. He assured me that Bush Republic and himself would be behind me the whole way. Within a month, Max flew myself and another staff member up to Northern California to take a look at some schools. I decided to attend Chico State. And before leaving, during that summer of 1999, I really didn't have nowhere to go. And Max provided me, along with Bush Republic, provided me housing throughout the summer, gave me a job to earn some money, and even purchased a vehicle and helped me get insurance. Max's contributions to my life didn't end when my program ended at Bush Republic. On several occasions, I found myself in need of assistance, financially, emotionally. When most turned towards their families, I turned towards Bush Republic. Once again, every time I turned towards Max or Bush Republic, whether it be Lori Hizos or Dan Kinnan or all the amazing staff of Bush Republic, there was never any restriction